Hey, what's going on, everybody? Your boy E-Buck in the building, and it's time for the show we call I Am Nighthawk, the show where we talk about the things I think about while many of you are sleeping. Uh, welcome to a new week here in 2025. Before we get into the meat of the show, because tonight our main topic is going to be DEI hiring and how this next administration is going to affect that and many other things, no doubt. But before we get in that, we will give you an update onto a topic or two we talked about last time around. The main one, of course, is obviously what's been the talk of the weekend for the most part across the United States, which was the official ban of TikTok to go into effect last night at midnight. As you know, if you are a TikToker, you know that before midnight even came to the United States, TikTok basically went black. You tried to go on that bad boy, and guess what? Couldn't do it. Could not do it. Would boot you right on out. And many of you basically discussed your disgust about it, was not happy, put it on your other social media that it wasn't. Many of you were already talking about some of the other alternative sites and what they had available and what you were doing on there. Well, keep in mind, based upon some of the things that have been talked about inside our governments and whatnot in the last few days, I kind of figured that sooner than later, the whole TikTok thing would be resolved, at least temporarily. And sure enough, less than 24 hours later, you all pretty much got the announcement that I did that TikTok is now back online, at least for the moment. Now, there's an issue or two, okay? Issue one is that when TikTok came back and you got your notification, whatever, or you went back on there, you got this beautiful message right here. And it says, for those of you on the radio side who won't be able to see this, thanks for your patience and support. As a result of President Trump's efforts, TikTok is back in the USA. You can continue to create, share, and discover all the things you love on TikTok. And then, of course, you go back to doing what you're doing and scrolling. Now, understand a lot of you have seen that message and rejoiced, and you're back doing what you do and scrolling through and catching up with your friends and whatnot, and that's great and that's awesome. Appreciate it. I, of course, am on TikTok and have enjoyed being back on there as well today. But I do know that there is definitely some gumming in the works at the moment. Understand that the TikTok people are purposely ingratiating themselves to the future president and vice versa. That is why we at this moment have this. I think it was the full intentions of TikTok to set it up this way to where we would temporarily feel the pain and then come on back with it, but of course give the credit to DT. Okay? And of course, I'm sure DT loves that. I imagine perhaps in his speech tomorrow, because who knows what he will ramble on about tomorrow in the inauguration speech. We'll talk about that in a minute. But long story short, he will definitely mention it, I would no doubt. That being said, do I think TikTok is back for good? Honestly, yeah. Yeah, I do. I think that some type of deal will go down, some way, shape, or form, some hokum pokum, and they'll go ahead and get that situated, and we will have TikTok or at least a version thereof moving forward. So, for those of you who were concerned or basically did it, and it became quite the livelihood, a second income or whatnot, I think you good to go. I do believe so. If not, you at least now have some understanding of what some of these other apps are like and have options. I would say in an ideal world, if that is one of your main sources of income or how you do your day or whatnot, I would not only go back to TikTok, but I would probably stay on some of those other platforms and see what I could get in there. I am fully considering that as a network and content creator, what I could get into on some of those other platforms, even still. And as we do so, I will let you know. I did find out today, because of course there's always some type of challenge on TikTok. Probably always will be. This one I kind of like. Basically, the challenge is called the Mass Following Challenge, which now basically, I guess, in celebration of TikTok being back for the moment, several content creators are challenging others to put on their posts, yeah, let's follow everybody that follows us. And we in turn will follow them back, thusly getting people over the magic 1,000 follower threshold. I think that's awesome. I basically followed a few of those people. I understand that to a degree it's a gimmick, and some people just smart in doing that. I'm definitely gonna do it as well. Why not? If I'm trying to get to the 1,000 thusly helps get to the point where you can become live on Facebook and gain some possibilities of monetization. Hey, it's a smart move, and it's not gonna cost you much. It's a video, and hopefully people will lock in. So the move, my friends, is to go on your TikTok, make some type of video. You want to hashtag it mass following, and hopefully everybody who will comment on your page mass follow, and people will follow you back, and boom, boom, bang. Perhaps you will get at least to that 1,000, if not more. Some people have claimed they've gotten up to 200, 300,000 followers doing this so far. So I'm gonna give it a shot and see what works. In the meanwhile, for those of you who are in the network who have a TikTok page, I at least want us to look out for each other as community, as family, as a village. So I'm going to in the scroll comment bar here. Let's see. Give you my TikTok. It is ebook at Nighthawk Network on TikTok. So look for ebook at Nighthawk on TikTok. You'll basically see one of my several hooded memes that I like to put on my page, and you will know that is me because you know I'm the Nighthawk, and you know it's usually something to the effect of me in the hoodie cartoon, whatever the case may be, and you'll be able to go ahead and hook it on up and let me know so I can hook it on up back. Follow me, I will follow you. That's how we gonna do that thing. In the meanwhile, good people, that's that story. Today, I would also like to talk about two important topics of note. One, of course, is the fact that tomorrow will note the inauguration of the 47th president of these United States. And of course, that person was the person who was the 45th president of these United States. And to say I'm happy about it would be an out and out, total, and complete lie. I am not, though I will gladly state for the record, I am not nearly as angry as I was the first time it happened some 8.5 years ago. Because for those who don't know, and for a couple people probably need to know, on that day, when I say I was not happy, I was extremely not happy. And that led to a course of events that truly changed my life. Some of them for the better, quite honestly. Some of them just made it different in a way that I was not fully prepared for at the time. But that was that. January 20th for me also marks special occasions because since that time I've made some big decisions in regards to my life as well on January 20th, years later. The following year, in fact, January 20th, 2018 was the last day that I ever had a drink of alcohol. I have not had one since. And tomorrow will mark the 7-year anniversary of that. Is something I am very proud to say for the record. Again, I was never a big drinker to begin with, but it was just something that I felt was important to establish and do. It changed the way a lot of people deal with you when you are a person who socializes with people who drink often or all the time, and then suddenly you don't drink. There are several people here who will see this and will acknowledge that and know that for themselves. For those people who just don't hang out with me as much or whatnot because I don't have those habits to contend with, I ain't mad at you. It is part of my evolution. It's just not part of yours, either at this time or ever will be. And that is what it is. You know, I can't be upset about that because in the end, That is a decision each person must make for themselves and must have a rationalization and a strength to actually carry out. I don't envision a day where I go back on that. For example, there were years where I had stopped drinking pop, for example. For almost 10 years, I did not drink any pop whatsoever. I did eventually go back on that. That was probably to my detriment, considering my current health condition. And part of that probably is to blame for why I'm there with it. Though understand, I still don't drink a lot of pop to this day. And let's see, a year cycle, maybe 4 or 5 caffeinated pop-like beverages I will drink in the course of a year. So I really can't say I'm still a pop drinker anymore, considering that at one point in life I drank on average at least 2 liters a day. That is part of why you see what you see with me. Part of this is sugar weight from drinking all that pop. It is the truth of the matter. But for those of you in your own journey and your own life understanding, if you choose to make some of those changes in your life, so be it. If you don't, again, also so be it. You have to contend with your own life on that level in the best way you know how. There are other things that basically mark milestones on that particular day. One of which I will not state on the air, but for those who are in my close personal circle, you know that situation as well. 7-year anniversary of that also. As far as any other discussion on that, I'd rather not say. But when all is said and done, tomorrow marks a new chapter in the democracy of our country. For some of you, you're gonna be happy about it. You're gonna be happy that tomorrow DT is in charge again. Is what you wanted. Is what you voted for. It is by far one of the greater moments in your existence, as far as you're concerned. I imagine people who vote for DT in the last 20 or so years oftentimes probably did not get their wish in terms of who they wanted to be the commander in chief. So this is a good day for you. For people like myself, we see it the opposite way. This is a bad day tomorrow. In my mind, I can't help but think that we have completely lost our mind as a country. We have basically gotten to a point where today we have decided that we don't care about your background. We don't care about what you have brought to the table in the past. We don't care about what you have done to us as people in the past. We are willing to forget and forgive for the sake of the sake of. That being said, tomorrow at this time, a person who has been convicted of multiple crimes, will be the president of these United States. And several million of you with it. You approve this message. You, by your proxy of vote, have said thumbs up. I say this to you, good people, it's on you now. Whatever happens, moving forward, good, bad, or otherwise, is on you. You have brought this on ourselves. God help us all. Now, in the ideal world, I've decided that I'm not going to let these things stress me as I did 4 years ago, to the point to where I blame part of that for some of my eventual health problems that leads me to have to utilize this beautiful machine. Let me see. It's hard to get these things in when you got the other stuff going on in the background. You see that? That, of course, is the blood pressure monitor. For those of you who cannot see because you're on the radio side, that I use daily to check my blood pressure. I'm not going to let the things that will go on in these United States affect me to that point to where I am very, very stressed. At least I'm going to try my darndest not to do so. Because several times I felt triggered by the accidents of the former to be future president of these United States. So much so that, yes, when we had these discussions, I still will not mention him by name, I will either call him 47 or DT or some derivative thereof. He will not, at this point, still have my respect in that regard to utter his name on these airwaves, nor do I plan on posting any pictures of said individual on said podcast. But you will know definitely who I speak of. But to be fair, to be honest and fair, I will look at both the good and the bad. And if I choose to judge one or speak on one or comment on one, I must also comment on the other. So, of course, him working with Bike Dance to bring TikTok back, something that many of us have come to utilize and take in as part of our daily goings on, I feel is a good thing. It may be for a bad or selfish reason on his part, mind you, but overall, I'm looking at what the people want. And the people do seem to want TikTok to be on. We have Road to Stardom checking in as always. What's going on, Road? Thank you for checking into the show. We appreciate you. Keep in mind, in order for me to post your comments, I will need to see them on the YouTube channel of this fine broadcast. That would be at Eric Buckner, Nighthawk Network, Detroit. You will find that on YouTube. If you are tuning in on the Facebook part of the station, I will try to access that for the sake of argument. Tracy is checking in, for example. Good evening, Tracy. Appreciate you, bro. Thank you for checking in. Can't see your comment based on how the EV Mux is set up, but like I said, I can do that through the access of the phone. So let me try to set that up right quick so I can see y'all. Then, of course, if you want to comment on the radio side, you're not able to do that because you're listening to this either on that fine station known as WTEA Radio. What's T? Or also on my Nighthawk radio network known as Nighthawk Network Radio, which you both can find those stations on Live 365. You go to Live 365 on your app store, go to Live 365, look up either Nighthawk Network Radio or WTA Radio, and you will be able to access it there. We're working on trying to get an easier way for you to do it. The other way, of course, is you can go to a Facebook page and go to the PN Nighthawk Network part of the app, press that, and that will take you straight to my station, Nighthawk Network Radio. If shout out to all the people going to the big show tonight here in the D, by the way, Glorilla and others there. A couple people have posted that. I see they are there live right now. Hopefully you are enjoying yourself. Give me a second. I want to see if I'm able to show you what I'm talking about here. Let me see. Can we get that to show there? You see that is my Facebook page right there. You see the sign there where it's pinned. You will go to that right there. You're gonna press on that, and that's gonna take you straight to the station. I'm not gonna do it now because that'll take us straight to the station. They'll start playing the music, and of course, that'll give us a reason to get banned or put up out of here, and we don't want to do that. We don't want to do that. Hold on. Okay, have access to the Facebook page. So yeah, Tracy, if you got any other comments, brother, I can see you now. Okay. So again, DT is in charge starting tomorrow. I imagine, based on at least if you take him at his word, by executive order, several things that was done in the previous administration, and perhaps even the previous administrations, are going to be executive ordered up out of here or changed immediately. TikTok ban just being one of several of those things. For those of you who are on TikTok but are also here illegally in this country, I think you need to accept your priorities at this point. I'd be more worried about what DT gonna do tomorrow with the whole executive order thing in terms of trying to get you out the country, as opposed to what's going on that TikTok. That should be priority one for you, my friend. For the rest of us, we have other things to concern ourselves with. And which brings us full circle to what we want to talk about tonight on the show, which is the practice of DEI. DEI Well, let me explain. There was a person in my circle who recently asked me to explain to them what DEI is all about and why they are trying to get rid of it. Because keep in mind, the news last week, Mark Zuckerberg, the CEO of Meta, aka Instagram and Facebook, has determined that they are no longer looking to do DEI hirings and are going to go back to how it was before all that went on. Now, for those who don't fully understand what is DEI, I had my boy CP, which of course is my co-pilot and my co-host in the show. In other words, my AI assisted assistant to look up DEI and tell us what it means. Okay, thank you, CP. According to CP, DEI hiring is also known as diversity, equity, and inclusion, thusly DEI. It is a recruitment approach aimed at creating a more diverse and inclusive workspace by ensuring equal opportunities for all candidates, regardless of their background. Regardless of their background. Remember that part of the statement, okay? Um, Diversity includes actively seeking candidates from various backgrounds, including different genders, different races, different ages, different sexual orientations, different abilities, and different socio-economical status. Equity is ensuring fair access to opportunities for growth and development without bias. And inclusion is creating a welcoming environment where all employees feel valued, accepted, and respected. The supposed goal of DEI hiring is to build a workforce that reflects the diversity of the organization's community and customers, fostering innovation, better decision making, and improved employee engagement. Okay? That thanks to CP. Now, the question I was asked was, that's DEI. Please break it down in layman's terms. Okay, DEI, my friends, in 2025 is the fancy way for those of us who grew up different. Let's see, hold on. Got another comment here I want to post. White women benefit the most from SRI. I think she meant DEI, but yeah. Okay. To a degree, that's true, Ro, and to a degree, it's not. I shall explain. All right, understand. DEI is a fancy way of saying what we grew up knowing as that term known as. Here we go. Blanking out. It is late, people. I apologize. Goodness. Equal opportunity employment equals. I should have wrote it down, y'all. I really should have. Give me a second. I'll pop back to that. But anyway, what it boils down to is we need to figure out a way to include people of color and people who are not males into the greater parts of the workforce. In other words, into upper management and things of that nature. Please understand why we knew this to be important. We look at the one percenters, okay? It usually boils down to the people with the money, right? The one percenters, as we know here in the United States, are the people who average $250,000 or more per year as an income, okay? So those are the people considered our one percenters. Okay, remember the breakdown of our country. We have about 360 million people legally here in the country that have been counted by the Census Bureau. Of those 360 million, over 60%, a little bit over 60%, are people who are Caucasian, white, whatever politically correct term you would prefer. Then it breaks down from there. We have about 14 to 15% that are African American, like myself. We have about 18%, which are Latino, and so on and so forth from there. Okay. We then look at how the companies break down. Fortune 500 companies, in other words, the big 500 companies in the United States, how many of those people are in charge of those companies? In other words, the big boss, the head honcho, El Jefe. When we look at that, less than 5%, maybe even less than 4%, if I remember right, are people of color or gender. In other words, the vast majority of the people that run the Fortune 500 countries in the United States are white males. Period. Period. Okay? So when we look at, okay, so how do I get into a job and move up the corporate ladder in order to get to that upper echelon so I can become one of the one percenters? I'm going to need some help. That's where the DI comes into the play, okay? That is where they determine, okay, well, yeah, maybe you will not get that opportunity because in the ideal world, if I am a white male and I'm looking for somebody to replace me or work under me directly, I'm more than likely going to hire another white male. That's just how it goes. I mean, think about it. Most of these Fortune 500s, the headquarters of these places are usually not in places such as Detroit or Chicago or Houston, which are basically pubs that have a large population of African Americans. New York is probably the exception, of course. As you see my background here, where we're basically in an office setting that kind of overlooks a city like New York. That's kind of why I picked this particular one for this episode, because that's where we at, the corporate environment. Who gets to be the big bosses to determine who gets hired from there? Now, understand, CEOs of major corporations, they make more than $250,000. The people that are in charge of places like IBM and Walmart and Ford and Stellantis, so on and so forth. Those people make millions upon millions of dollars. And as we know, the vast majority of them are people that do not look like myself. They are people who are Caucasian, plain and simple. And so DEI was slowly integrated into several corporations to kind of make it fair for people to have an opportunity to be amongst those elite individuals. Okay. Now we got to start to be honest about some things. Okay. Let's be honest. In the ideal world, I would say half of the majority of people who are Caucasian are cool with this, okay? They don't have no problem with the DEI. But there is another half of that part of the population, the 60%, that look at this like, if we allow DEI, there's a possibility that we allow it too much to the point to where we are now boxed out of the scenario. Lord forbid we have a world where the Fortune 500 is now more 50-50 than it is 496, okay? Lord forbid we have a situation to where, okay, I don't get hired now because the big boss looks like E-Buck, and E-Buck would prefer to hire people that look like E-Buck. That's not going to work for me. How can I keep my generational wealth going if I don't have that unfair advantage? Okay? Let's really think about this for a minute, good people. You are a person growing up in the hood, growing up in rural America, growing up in a small population of you. And then you have a desire not to be what people typically dream to be in the hood: basketball player, entertainer, super drug lord, etc., etc. You actually want to be CEO of a corporation, big boss, El Jefe, okay? But you get to a point to where you start to climb the corporate ladder and then somebody takes part of that ladder away. And you don't understand for the life of you why you can't seem to get any farther than what you have, even though you have all the qualifications and maybe even more so than that person they hired ahead of you. It is because at some point the corporation says, hey, we here. We can't have this person here. It gives them too much power. It gives them too much cachet to do things that we do not want to allow them to do. Okay? Plain and simple. Or it's to the point where it's like, all right, this is our company. We founded it on people that look like us. In order for it to thrive and continue on, we must keep people that look like us in charge of the hookup. Okay? We got to have us running this thing. Period. Now, what has happened over the course of the last 20 years, particularly with the event of people like President Obama being in charge of the country and things of that nature, more and more companies start to look at it from the standpoint, okay, America is changing. There are more people of minority in this country. We should start to reflect what the country actually looks like. I think that is one of the good things about the Biden administration that happened. The fact that when it came to hiring all the people for the cabinet, for the secretary of this, and this, it reflected more what the country looked like. So if you go and look at the photo album, so to speak, of who they hired to be Secretary of State and Defense and White House Chief of Staff, Press Secretary, these were people of color. These were people who are women. These were people who were gender neutral, etc., etc. President Biden did a very good job of doing that, so much so that, yeah, he said point blank, yeah, I'm definitely going to put a female as my vice president. I'm definitely going to put a black woman in the Supreme Court. He did those things. Kudos for that. Some of the other things he's supposed to work on, not so much. Not so much. So, yeah, that is part of why we're here now, let's be honest. You don't get DT back in office if Joe did a great job. That's just the simple fact of the matter. If Joe would have been as good a president, I feel, as Obama was, we don't get DT back at all. And he, at this point, is facing all those charges he should have been facing in the first place. But because that did not work out the way I needed it to, DT is back in the house in less than 12 hours from now. Lord help us all. Again, if that's your man's and you feel some type of way that I'm talking about your man's, my bad. But Buck gonna keep it a buck with you, okay? I do not approve this message. I did not vote for dude, all right? I'm stuck with whatever happens on dude's watch because he in charge of my country. But that don't mean I got to approve it or like it. Like I said, I will give him credit when he deserves it. For like the TikTok thing, deserves some credit for that. What's happening with the Israelis and the Hamas. He deserves a little credit for what's going on with that, even though ain't quite what we need it to be, but it's a start. He did have something to do with that. Truth and truth. But all the bad things that is to come, and there will be some bad things, I'm definitely going to give him his credit for that as well. That was you, bro. You did it. I will say this, though, because I've seen online that there has been some backlash about some of the people that's going to perform at the inauguration tomorrow, in particular, Nelly and Snoop Dogg. Get off our people, man. Come on now. Y'all doing too much with that. Let them do them, okay? It is a big stage. It is a big honor to do so, regardless of who the president is. They was asked to do it, especially if they're getting paid to do it. Let them get it in. Y'all not about to cancel Snoop Dogg. Y'all, whoever put that hashtag, you stupid. Snoop Dogg everywhere. We talked about that a couple shows ago. If there was a man of the year, it was DT. If it was second place, it definitely was Snoop. Y'all ain't about to cancel Snoop. Stop talking crazy. You ain't canceling Nelly. Stop talking crazy. Yeah, the Chrisette Michelle thing, when she did it in the first inauguration, Did that cancel her? Unfortunately, it kind of did. I ain't gonna lie. We're in a different place in time. If we have not canceled DT, why in the blue hell, the blue Smurf, will we cancel these two individuals? You are letting a convicted felon be in charge of the country. But yet you're going to be mad at Snoop and Nelly for working that? Come on. Come on. I'm sitting here looking at the numbers. I think I pissed somebody up. They left. Do you? But anyway, back to the DEI situation. Like I said, several companies have come out in recent months and have said that, the DEI hiring, we're not doing it anymore, okay? We're not going to hire people just to meet these quotas for diversity and put more people of color in the big offices. We don't want that. We want to hire who we want to hire. Ain't gonna be no Rooney Rule up in here. We want white, we gonna hire white. We want white males, we gonna hire white males. That's that. Deal with it. Love it, don't love it, we don't care. This is my company. I make these billions. You're not gonna dictate to me how I make my money. And unfortunately, I hate the thought process of it, but I can't be mad at it in the end, being a person that logically thinks about these things. The sad truth of the matter is, it is their money. Even though you feel like they got it off the backs of people like myself who worked hard all those years to help you make that money. We should deserve to be in some of the big offices based on that alone. Let alone the whole 400 years of oppressions and slavery and all of that. We don't like to talk about that. We don't like to get into all that. But yes, some of that does come into play in some of these companies, particularly these older companies, okay? It's crazy how when you look at a lot of what was invented in the United States over the years, Rick Ross has already performed. Yeah, that's another one people talking about canceling. Y'all not canceling Rick Ross. Stop it. Stop with all that. You're doing too much, okay? You're doing too much. Just like Kid Rock ain't been canceled, and we know he ain't. Just like Hulk Hogan ain't really been canceled, though he definitely ain't the Hulk Hogan that we grew up with. Okay, the Hulk Hogan we grew up with would not have got booed endlessly like he did on that first episode of Raw on Netflix, okay? Not the Hulk Hogan we grew up with before we knew that Hulk didn't like what I looked like as a color. But anyway, not having DEI ultimately hurts us as a society, okay? It really does. But then I look at it as I try to look at some of these things from a global standpoint, okay? I imagine when you go to the continent that is India and you look at the companies in India, most of the companies that are in India, their CEOs probably are Indian. I'm going to safely assume that, right? When you go to the continent of Africa and you look at the CEOs of many of those corporations, I imagine most of the CEOs in those countries are African, okay? White or black African, okay. Same with China. Most of the people in charge of Chinese companies are people of Chinese descent, all right? Now, it's not to say that we as African Americans are not American. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying that about my Asian people or my Arabic people or my Hispanic people. None of that. Okay, we are Americans just like everybody else who was born in this country. All right, but when all is said and done, IBM or Apple or whatever was started by people that don't look like us. It is not completely fair for us to say, hey, even though that was the case, you need to put one of us in charge of y'all now. You need to make one of us the big boss. It's not fair. It's absolutely not fair. It ain't completely right. It ain't even fully moral, I don't think. But you know the saying that we grew up with back in the day, you got to pay the cost to be the boss. And in the end, When it comes down to who is in charge to determine who gets the big bucks, and it's your company, and you the billionaire, and you want to keep flying the private jets and whatnot, if I don't completely trust the person in charge for whatever reason, I'm probably not going to hire that person to be in charge of my company. It's sad that we are here, that we are still here after all these years. When we look at the DNA makeup of pretty much the majority of people that are in the United States that have been here, most of us are of some type of mixed descent. Let's be honest. We're not all completely black or all completely white. We mix with Italian, black, Arabic, Chinese, something. So you would think by now we would get over a lot of this foolishness that involves race. We should understand that the majority of people that walk the face of the earth are not males, they are females. More females on planet Earth, at least 8 billion plus, than males, but yet males are the ones running things in most of these countries. Not fair. Not fair. When we look at the person in charge of the country right now, just like in the past several elections, when they do the breakdown of who voted for what, you will find that more women voted, period, than men. Period. So part of why we are here, part of the problem that's going to make it hard for people like that young lady you are raising or the young lady you are from getting to the upper epsilon to sitting in the big chair right there is because of what your actions brought to the forefront, okay? We had a president that was trying to put people in big bosses' chairs, in the Supreme Court, in the vice president's office, in the president's office. We told him, no, we don't like you, you gotta go. We put the fool whose place he took back in charge. Like he had a whole change of heart or something. Like he saw this all different light. Like in the end, he was going to be like, hey, you know what? When I look at this thing, it's all good. I was wrong about this, this, and this. I'm going to do it this way this time. Do you honestly think it's going to go down that way? Especially after we done went to the Supreme Court and asked some of that stuff he did, that was wrong, wasn't it? And they was like, no, he was president. It's all good. And if it ain't, he the president. You got to let that ride. After having that knowledge in his back pocket, do you honestly think he going to be chill now this time around? Oh, but no. I think this had the potential to get real, real, real ugly. I mean super ugly. Extra, extra ugly. It could very well be that. I pray to God that it ain't. I hope it ain't. But it could. And Lord help us all. Okay? Lord help us all. But when it's all said and done, he is now in charge, and his minions that he's putting in charge of the various cabinets and whatnot, they are going to lead to a democracy that we are unfamiliar with. And I hope we are ready to deal with it. Now, best advice I can give you all is the one I'm going to take for myself. Stay prayed up. We do not know what the future holds, okay? AI is here, and it is evolving, and it will play a role in all of this. But when all is said and done, it depends on who you got in charge of what. And if they have a whole different view than what you have, and they the ones that get to make the decisions, they the ones that sit in the big office chair right there, it's going to be bad, okay? You would like to think in an ideal world, if you are the person who have the best qualifications for any job, you should be the person that gets it, period. Regardless of what you look like, who you love, any of that. Regardless of how old you are, where you come from. You should be the person sitting there. We here now, okay? It starts with this, not allowing DEI to go on. Affirmative action. That is the word I've been digging for the last 25 minutes. Please, Lord, do not let me start getting Alzheimer's this early in my life. I don't want it. I don't need it. I should have been thought of what that was. Affirmative action. That is what we used to call this. DEI. It is no longer that. It will no longer be this, okay? So for those of you going to college now, and before you would get into a place like a Yale or a Harvard, Ivy League schools that I got accepted to, and I know I got accepted to them not necessarily because I was a smart person, but because I was a smart person and I was a person of color, and they were looking to diversify. That is why I was able to get instantly accepted to some of those schools. Oh, obviously, the problem then became how do I afford those schools? So I did not instantly get no scholarships to some of those schools. I did not. Because in the end, they wanted to appear that, okay, we're trying to be fair and inclusive, but in the end, we don't necessarily got to have you, okay? We don't necessarily want everybody to look like you. We just got to make it look good, okay? Apparently now we're going to get away from all that. Smurf making it look good. We ain't doing it. Flat out. If you mad, you mad. What you going to do? Tell DT? DT cool with it. He approves this message. Because look at his cabinet. Look at the people he got coming into the White House. DEI is gone from big government, okay? When you look at the people he is putting in, yeah, there are a couple people that look like us, a couple chips in the cookies, if you will. But for the most part, his cabinet will be made up of white males, period. And purposely so. And purposely so. That is not to say that he will not hire any African Americans. Obviously, he will. Part of the reason why people have an issue with Nelly and Snoop being at the inauguration thing, being the entertainment, because yeah, you hire us to entertain you, but you won't hire us to work for you and work in office like that. That's part of why people mad. I get it. Don't think I don't get it. I get it. It's just at this point, what you gonna do about it? The one thing you could have did about it was not vote for him in the first place. So for you, particularly people that look like me that voted for him, and things happen after the fact that lead you to believe that he was not down for the cause that is you, you have no one to blame for yourself but yourself. Deal with it. For the next 4 years, deal with it, because tried to impeach him not once, but twice. Didn't work. Not only did it not work, you had the foolishness within yourself to let him come back. Do you think it's going to work this time? He may darn well be able to make somebody unalive live on TV and probably could get away with that. And he got away with everything else. I don't see why not. So we just got to hope that God up above is going to work with his mind, body, and soul and have him do the right things for all of us involved. That's all we can hope and pray for, okay? Because I really do believe at points, very soon, it might get really, really bad. It might get ugly. It might be one of them days where I grab the monitor and it's going to be like, yeah, this boy high. Where the monitor? There you go. This boy high. I can't help it today. My blood pressure just got to be high because what he doing got me feeling some type of way. What he's allowing to happen in this country got me feeling some type of way. And it's crazy how, going back full circle to the beginning of the conversation, Congress can come together to ban TikTok for the sake of national security and justify it in that way. But then the school shootings and the mass shootings happen and they can't bring themselves to come to the agreement that, yeah, some of these automatic weapons of mass destruction we need to get rid of right away. Okay, DT said, personally, I didn't vote for him, and I know you didn't, brother, and stand on it 10 toes down. I, too, Feel that way, my brother. Trust and believe. You already know. Wasn't no love here. Not in this house. No, sir. I will gladly admit it right here live on the air. I did not vote for DT and don't feel bad about not voting for DT. And like I said, not knowing what his agenda is may not be to my best advantage to even say that live on the air. Who knows what he may think to do to people that ain't really down with him, that didn't want to kiss the ring. I don't know. I can't put nothing past it at this point. But I got to be real. I don't trust it. I don't trust him. I don't respect him because I don't feel like he respect me. That's just the truth. I'm putting 10 toes down. That's what I'm standing on business on that as well. Brother Tracy. Facts and facts. Happy belated birthday, by the way, my brother. But anyway, that's about it, good people. So tomorrow, January 20th, perhaps a day that will live in infamy. For me, like I said, anniversaries to be had again, and new milestones to create, and all of that. So here we are, waiting to see what goes on next. Like I said, I think TikTok is back for good. I think this was all just something. I think they will somehow, some way, either work it out to where they finally get the American company to do it. That may change. Well, it will change how they do some things on TikTok eventually. But I think that either happens or they basically find some way to make this ban go away and just let TikTok be. Either way, happy for the people of TikTok that enjoy TikTok. I'm pretty sure once I get off of here, I will get back on there for a minute before I go to bed because that has become part of my nightly rituals. Well, I admit it, where I go on TikTok, see what's going on, see what I can find out, see what I can learn. I will start posting more on TikTok as well. I want to start have some shorter little podcasts that kind of fit the TikTok model, a nice 5 to 10 minutes range. I'm gonna try to work that out in the coming days. Particularly, I want to do my little sports podcast. You know, my Big Buck Sports Report. I think I'm going to start posting on there and Instagram specifically, as opposed to the YouTube and the Facebook. And I also want to do my Up in Folks Business. You know, that was my entertainment news little hookup. I think I'm gonna start doing that one specifically on TikTok and Instagram and whatever other medium I end up going on, instead of just doing it here. So we'll see how that works. Again, shout out to WTEA Radio, owned by Big Meech over there in College Park, Georgia. Also, shout out to WAHR, Atlanta Hot Radio, owned by Big Red over there in Atlanta, Georgia. And of course, like I said, check out the Nighthawk Network Radio. Tomorrow, tune in. We'll be doing the morning mix. And then I do believe if we set everything up properly, we will have the Stuck in the 80s mix as well in the afternoon. And we will also start posting the audio of some of these shows there as well. And then, of course, don't forget to check out Night Modes. I do believe that's going to be on late tonight because I still got to set that up right quick. So about 11:30 to 1:30 a.m., some nice slow jams for y'all to check out on your way to bed. That is Night Modes on my radio station, my internet radio station, Nighthawk Network Radio. Check it on out, would you? That being said, good people, we're going to head up out of here. This has been I Am Nighthawk. When we come back in a couple weeks, we'll see what happens these first couple weeks of the new administration, talk about that. And of course, there's some more AI things to talk about and get into as we look into more of that and how that works out for people and what they got going with some of that there. I had some AI create related. I forgot to post and deal with all that, and CP didn't get me together, so we'll put that on for next time as well. But until then, good people, be safe, be blessed. If you are here in the Midwest or over in the Northeast, it's going to get very, very cold these next few days. Please stay warm. Drink plenty of hot liquids. Dress warmly. Some of y'all, the way y'all was dressed these last couple of days, are you serious? I know you're going to be sick. It's not going to be good. Put the clothes on. Stop trying to be cute. Because it ain't cute to be sick. Ain't nothing cute about it. For real, for real. All right, y'all. We about to head on out. This is your boy E-Buck. I am the Nighthawk. And I wish you well. And let me get what I need here. We're going to end the show the way we began it with the good old theme song. Also, shout out to Shine Love, Pastor Shine Love, back doing his show. He took a couple weeks off to contend with some things, but he is back. I will post that tomorrow for y'all to check out. Again, Pastor Shine, shout out to you, Aunt Nikki, everybody else in Nighthawk Network, Dr. Facey, Pastor Bright, all of y'all good folks. Love you. All right, people, here we go. Wait a minute. All right, y'all. We out. Peace.